Hey friend, want to hear about someone who literally changed the entire world before turning 33? I'm talking about a guy who went from a small kingdom to ruling almost everything people knew back then. Trust me, this story is going to blow your mind and maybe even inspire you to chase your own dreams bigger. Alexander the Great wasn't just some ancient king. He was a young person with huge dreams who actually made them happen. And the best part, his story teaches us that age is just a number when you have passion and courage. The early days. So picture this, a baby boy is born in 356 BC in a place called Macedonia. His dad, King Philip II, is already a powerful ruler. His mom, Olympias, is super intense and tells little Alex that he's descended from heroes and gods. Can you imagine growing up with that kind of pressure? But here's where it gets interesting. When Alex is just 13 years old, his father hires the smartest tyker in the world, Aristotle. Yeah, the Aristotle. For 3 years, this genius philosopher teaches Alex everything. Science, medicine, philosophy, and literature. They become really close, and Aristotle sees something special in this kid. He's not just learning facts, he's learning how to think, how to lead, and how to dream big. The young leader. Now here comes the crazy part. When Alexander is only 16, his father has to leave for war. So what does King Philip do? He leaves his teenage son in charge of the entire kingdom. Most of us can't even be trusted with a car at 16, right? But Alexander doesn't just babysit the kingdom. He actually leads an army and wins his first battle. His father is shocked and super proud. 2 years later, at 18, Alexander fights alongside his father in a huge battle. He leads the cavalry charge and basically saves the day. People start talking about this young prince who's fearless in battle. But then tragedy strikes, becoming king. When Alexander is 20 years old, his father is assassinated at a wedding. Suddenly, this young guy is king of Macedonia. Some people think he's too young, too inexperienced. Some even tried to challenge him. But Alexander shows everyone what he's made of. Within months, he secures his power, deals with his enemies, and starts planning something absolutely wild. The dream of conquest. Remember those bedtime stories his mom told him about heroes? Alexander decides he's going to become the greatest hero ever. He wants to conquer Persia, the biggest, richest empire in the world. Everyone thinks he's crazy. The Persian Empire is huge, with millions of people and seemingly endless resources. Macedonia is tiny compared to that. But Alexander has a secret weapon. He truly believes in himself, and his army believes in him. He doesn't sit on a throne far from battle. He fights right there with his soldiers. He shares their food, their hardships, their dangers. That's not normal for kings, and his men love him for it. The beginning of something epic. In 334 BC, at just 22 years old, Alexander crosses into Asia with about 35,000 soldiers. His first major battle is at a river called Granicus. The Persians are waiting for him. The battle is brutal, and Alexander almost dies. A Persian soldier's sword hits his helmet and nearly kills him, but he survives and wins the battle. This is just the beginning. The impossible victories. Battle after battle, Alexander does the impossible. At Issus, he defeats a Persian army that's maybe 3 times bigger than his own. The Persian king Darius III runs away, leaving behind his family and treasures. Alexander treats Darius's family with respect and kindness. Another unusual move that makes people admire him even more. Then comes Tyre, a city on an island that everyone says is impossible to conquer. Alexander says, "Watch me." He builds a causeway, basically a bridge from the mainland to the island. It takes 7 months, but he does it. The city falls. The greatest prize. In 331 BC, Alexander faces Darius one more time at Gaugamela. This is it, the big one. Darius brings everything, thousands of soldiers, war chariots with spinning blades on the wheels, even war elephants. The odds are crazy. Some historians say Alexander is outnumbered 5 to 1, maybe more. But Alexander's a genius at strategy. He finds a weakness in the Persian formation and charges straight for Darius himself. When Darius runs away again, his army falls apart. Alexander has done it. He's conquered the Persian Empire. He's 25 years old. The journey continues. You'd think that's enough, right? Most people would stop there. Not Alexander. He keeps going east. He conquers Egypt and they make him pharaoh. He founds a city called Alexandria, yeah. He named it after himself. There are actually about 20 cities he named Alexandria. He pushes into Central Asia, into places nobody from Greece had ever been. He crosses mountains, deserts, and rivers. He fights in the freezing cold and burning heat. His men are getting tired, but Alexander's dream keeps pulling him forward. India and the turning point. Finally, Alexander reaches India. In 326 BC, he fights King Porus in a massive battle. Even though Alexander wins, he's impressed by Porus's bravery. So instead of treating him like a defeated enemy, Alexander makes him an ally and lets him keep his kingdom. This is vintage Alexander, tough in battle, generous in victory. But here's where things change. Alexander wants to keep going to reach the end of the world. But his army, his loyal, brave army, that's followed him for years, finally says enough. They're exhausted. They miss home. They've been marching and fighting for 8 years. Alexander is heartbroken, but he listens to his men. They turn back. On the way home, Alexander almost dies again. This happens a lot to him when he's shot with an arrow in his chest during a battle. His men think he's dead and fight like crazy to save him. He survives, but he's never quite the same. The vision. Here's something really cool about Alexander. He didn't just want to conquer, he wanted to unite. He married women from Persia and encouraged his soldiers to do the same. He adopted Persian customs and dress. He wanted to blend Greek and Asian cultures together. Some Greeks thought he was betraying them, but Alexander saw a bigger picture. He dreamed of a world where different peoples could live together and share ideas. The end comes too soon. In June 323 BC, Alexander's in Babylon planning new expeditions. He's only 32 years old and already planning his next adventure. Maybe Arabia, maybe the Mediterranean. But then he gets sick. Within about 2 weeks, the greatest conqueror in history is dead. Nobody knows exactly what killed him. Maybe disease, maybe poison, maybe just exhaustion from pushing himself so hard for so long. His men are devastated. When they ask him who should get his empire, he supposedly says, the strongest. Without his leadership, his empire quickly breaks apart into several kingdoms. But his impact? That lasts forever. The legacy. Think about this: in just 13 years of ruling, Alexander conquered most of the known world. He never lost a battle. He founded over 20 cities. He spread Greek culture across 3 continents. The period after his death is called the Hellenistic Age, because Greek Hellenic culture mixed with Asian and Egyptian cultures, creating amazing art, science, and philosophy. Scientists like Archimedes, mathematicians like Euclid, they all came after Alexander and built on the cultural exchange he started. The Great Library of Alexandria in Egypt, one of the wonders of the ancient world, built after his death, named in his honor. So what can we learn from Alexander today, over 2,300 years later? First, age really is just a number. This guy was making world-changing decisions as a teenager and conquered an empire before 30. Whatever dreams you have, don't wait until you're ready. You'll never feel completely ready. Second, leadership isn't about sitting in an office giving orders. Alexander led from the front. He shared risks with his team. That's why people followed him to the ends of the earth, literally. Third, it's okay to dream big, really big, ridiculously big. Everyone thought Alexander was crazy for taking on Persia, but he did it anyway. Sure, maybe don't try to conquer the world, but don't let other people's doubts stop you from chasing what seems impossible. And finally, remember that life is short. Alexander packed more into 32 years than most people do in 80. He didn't waste time. He went after what he wanted with everything he had. Was he perfect? No way. He could be ruthless. His pride sometimes got him in trouble. And maybe he pushed too hard sometimes. But he lived with passion, courage, and an unshakable belief that he could change the world. And you know what? He did. So friend, next time you're doubting yourself or thinking your dreams are too big, remember that kid from Macedonia who decided to conquer the world and actually did it. If Alexander could do the impossible, maybe your impossible isn't so impossible after all. Your dreams are valid, your ambitions matter, and who knows, maybe centuries from now, people will be telling your story to all. Now go out there and conquer your world.